How do you price out a flip that's sitting on the market in this current environment? That's what we're going to go over today because we get this question almost daily. Yesterday we had a client of ours call in, wanted to go over some pricing strategies. So I'm going to share with you what we talked about and how we looked at repricing his property to make it fit in this market. One of the first things we talk about is understanding that people buy on payments. There's a payment that they could either afford and or that they qualify for because they may have the dreams of even paying more, the ability to pay more, but if they don't qualify and they can't get the mortgage, they're not going to buy the property. So what we did is we looked at an example for him. In his case, he had a property that back in January would have gone for $800,000. So it's a higher end property in parts of Colorado here. And at that time, interest rates were 4%. So we looked at it and said, okay, if people are buying properties on their payment, what was the payment back in January? So we came up with the number around $3,800. So that's what someone buying this property could afford or could qualify for. Now let's fast forward it to now. Interest rates are at 7%. What does that look like as far as if they kept the same payment, meaning all they could budget is $3,800 and all they could qualify is $3,800, what is the amount that they could purchase? And that number is now $575,000. So they've gone from $800,000 at the beginning of 2022 down to $575,000 if we use a 7% interest rate, keeping their payments the same. Now we have a dilemma. Does he or can he drop his price to $575,000 to get it cleared off? Because his thing is like, I want to clear these off because we know better deals are coming. This is where we need to buy and we don't need all these properties hanging over us. It's also he doesn't want to keep making payments on something that is maybe going down even farther. Because if we look forward in next year, they're anticipating interest rates being at 8%. If you look at the same property at an 8% rate, you're going to see that affordability with that payment going down to $520. So we started at $800, went to $575, next year $520. He does not want to be caught in that market. But there is another strategy that you can look at. Once again, we're talking about people buying for payment. So number one is you can lower the price based on the current interest rates to get the same payment. Another strategy is buying down the rate for your buyer. So in this case, if we looked at a property and said, okay, if our target is around that $3,800, what can we buy? What can we use 2 points? How can we take 2 points, buy the interest down about 1 point on the interest rate? So go from 7 to 6 in this current market. What would that do to our sales price, affordability to the client, and also our net numbers? So what you're going to see here is that instead of going on to $575, we were actually able to just lower it to $640. He takes 2 points of the $640, buys down the person's interest rate a point. That way it only costs him $12,800 and he nets another $52,200. So that's the difference between a $640 and the $575 less the amount he paid in points. So they get the same payment, is what they want, what they qualify for, but he gets the property at a higher price so he can make the money he needs. Now that's an $800,000 house. What does that look like on a $250,000 house? So if you had a $250,000 house and you were selling it and the buyer could afford the $1,193, that's the interest at 4%. Now that same property with interest rates at 7% is going to cost you about $1,663, $470 more than it did just in January. So what that means are people are actually going down from what they could afford even at the $250. They go from $250 down to $180. So you've had a $70,000 difference. They went from being able to purchase something for $250, now only purchasing something for $180. Now you can see why properties are sitting on the market. If they're buying by payments, this is all they can do. Once again, if you're looking at in the future, should I keep it? And interest rates keep going up even farther, prices are going to come down. And you don't want to be caught in that market. The other thing we also looked at in the same sense is what happens if they buy down the rate? What if they, in this case on the 250, take 2%? What can you get it down to? So buying it down 2 points, you could keep your price at 200 instead of 180. So it would cost you $4,000 for the 2% of your sell price, but you're going to net $16,000 because instead of selling for 180, you sell for 200. and it's only going to cost you $4,000. So that nets you an extra $16,000. So sometimes instead of lowering the price, you just got to get their payment in line, because these are payment shoppers. That's what you got to look for. And it's good to clear the decks. If you have properties that are sitting out on hard money, maybe it's time to look at a bank loan or a DSCR. We can help you with a DSCR loan or another traditional loan, but maybe it's time to take that property off the market before you keep dropping the price, because every time you drop it, it hurts your appraised value. Appraisers can't appraise it for more than you've listed it for and not sold it for. So reach out to us. We'd be glad to help you price something out, see if we can provide a loan if it does not sell, so you could keep it and maybe in 3 or 4 years get all your money back, or just keep a rental. Once again, happy investing.